Hello and welcome to this edition of Behind the Scenes, GOV-TV's look at the film and television industry. I'm your host, Tony DellaFlora. New Mexico used to be known for UFO sightings. Now it's known for star sightings, as in Hollywood stars. It seems that just about every month or so, some well-known actor or director visits the land of enchantment to take on their next movie or TV production. With me today on Behind the Scenes to give us an update on what's going on in the industry are two of the people most responsible for the parade of stars and productions. Nick Maniatis, director of the New Mexico Film Office, and Ann Lerner, the top banana at the Albuquerque Film Office. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you guys could make some time because I know you're really busy these days.
Thanks for having us.
I want to, before we get started on what's going on now, let's take a little time to flash back to say 2000 and what was not going on in the film industry in New Mexico back then. I believe you were a producer at that time, and I don't know, you were waiting on tables, Ann. I'm not sure what you were doing back in 2000. Producing too, I think.
That's right.
But when all this stuff with the incentives got started way back then in the early 2000s, did either one of you ever envision that it would grow to the scope that it has in the last 15 years?
Go ahead, Ann.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, actually, I was producing television commercials back in 1990 when the SAG strike kind of shut down the business in the United States, and Canada said, hey, why don't you come up there? I shot in Toronto. I don't know if you shot anything up in Canada for their incentives. And I think it was a very smart thing that Gary Johnson did, Governor Johnson, in 2002, signing into law. I believe the bill passed unanimously in New Mexico, Senate drawing the production back to the states.
Right.
Yeah, I guess for my purposes, you couldn't have guessed how far it would have gone with other states and competition, and it's become a little cottage industry, around the U.S. and around the world, to be quite honest.
Yeah, right. We're competing with not just Arizona and Texas, but basically with the rest of the world, right? And we're doing pretty good against Hollywood most of the time too, right?
We're not doing bad.
That's good.
We get our share, right? That's kind of.
Yeah. Well, let's update folks on. It seems like I'm reading about something every week about a new production coming, a TV show, whatever. Tell us sort of what's been happening this year statewide and how that compares with the previous years.
Well, this year's been very busy. I mean, we've had an Adam Sandler film here. We've had a Tina Fey film here. We just announced last week Gold, which is Matthew McConaughey, and we have Independence Day. That's a huge film. So we've had a really busy year, and we've got a lot of TV as well. Better Call Saul. The Messenger shot part of the year here.
Manhattan,
Longmire.
Night Shift.
So, and we'll have some more announcements soon.
TV pilots. We had a couple of Sony TV pilots that were great.
The Preacher, with Seth Rogen directed.
How does this compare to last year, which seemed to be a pretty busy? Is it picking up or less or about the same?
So we don't have. I don't have these numbers officially to give, but I'll tell you anyway.
Okay.
Great, Nick.
But fiscal year 15, which is our July 1 to June to end of June, was the best year we've ever had in the history of the tax incentive, as far as direct spend into the economy, jobs, and all of that. So it was the busiest year we've ever had.
And that's the same for Albuquerque. We had the biggest year. Probably the direct spend for fiscal year 15 was around $160 million of new money coming in from out of state into our state, hiring our local people, working with our local businesses.
Yeah, 160 million. You said you do or don't have a number for that at this point for the statewide?
I don't have an official number, so I don't want to give one now. But
it'll $1 billion, $1 billion, $2 billion. Come on.
I think it's over 300 million.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay. And I'm assuming as busy as the first half this year has been. I know you can't tell me upcoming productions, but are we going to have a pretty full slate through the rest of the year?
I think we'll be busy for a long time to come. The way my board looks in my office, we've got a lot in the hopper.
Someday we're going to sneak in there with an undercover camera and get the secret board. So, and again, you said, and the same thing, you're booked here. are we getting to the point? I mean, you guys, I know you're not a one-man operation, but you have a small office, and I think for the size, the amount of stuff we do, you have a relatively lean office up there. Are you guys getting stressed out at all about keeping up with all this stuff?
We're lean and mean.
Okay.
If I didn't have Carrie Wells in the Albuquerque film office does all of the permitting. She does a
Right.
one-stop film permitting process.
Right.
The city is incredibly film friendly and cooperative. So she's worth 10 people.
Yeah.
Well, good. That's good.
And
Good
in
to-
your introduction, you said we're responsible for this, and really, my staff is responsible. I mean, they're the ones that do all the heavy lifting. I get to come here and hang out with you.
Okay, well, they're working. All right.
everyone's working.
Yeah. Well, it seems, I think when this started picking up back in the aughts, most of the production was Santa Fe and Albuquerque. And that seems over the years, you know better than I do, but it's the rest of the states picking up some of this stuff.
So, Ann may not say this publicly, but I will. I mean, I'm constantly trying to push out from
Yes.
Albuquerque and Santa Fe because they will always get Santa Fe and Albuquerque will always get their fair share.
Right.
So whenever we can have a production go to the Blue Hole or down to Las Cruces or up to Clayton or anywhere in the state, we try to get them to go because one, it's good for the economy in our whole entire state, and that's who I represent. But two, it's good for tourism as well. If there's some iconic shot of Las Vegas or Shiprock or something in a movie, that helps. We want to help with tourism as well.
Comancheria, which is a movie that starred Jeff Bridges, wrapped recently, and their offices were out at Albuquerque Studios, but it's a story set in West Texas,
Okay.
and they shot in Portales, they shot in Clovis, and those towns, from what I heard, were just thrilled to have them there.
Yep.
Just thrilled.
And I'm sure, politically, it's nice because I think when legislators see the impact right in front of them, it's got to help you guys in the legislature at the state level.
And the bottom line for me and what I preach is the more people that benefit from the tax incentive, the better. The stronger it becomes. So small businesses around the state, if they're benefiting from it, and if people are making money servicing the industry, it's better for all of us.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Yeah. And I want to, since this is an Albuquerque-centric show, I want to get back to what you mentioned before. We've got Better Call Saul back for a second season.
Yes.
That must be a great phone call to get. That, hey,
It's-
we're coming back.
Yeah, Sony just loves us, and we're thrilled to have them back.
Yeah. And now they're going to the Isotopes games, too, I heard. So that's good PR. And then you've got, as Nick mentioned, Matthew McConaughey's back here for Gold. I heard a story about some extra had brought her mother there, and McConaughey went up and talked to her and kissed her on the cheek or something. It was a lovely little story. But again, another huge name dropping into Albuquerque to do a movie here.
But you know what, Tony? To me, really, it's great to have these movie stars here, but the real stars are the New Mexicans who are on the ground, who are working at these jobs.
Right.
The Better Call Saul crew, 90% of the crew are New Mexican, and they're working hard and making money and buying homes and televisions and stuff like that.
Yeah. They're buying them all over the state, I assume.
Well,
Right.
we hope so.
I haven't talked to anybody in the union, but it seems like most of them are working a good
Yes.
part of the year. I
Yes.
mean, are they like wanting to build the ranks up even more? Are we going to need to have more crew in the next 5 years?
Yes,
or-
I think we will. I absolutely think we will.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you something because, we've been fortunate here to have some really great shows and stuff. I mean, some that you would prefer to forget. I won't mention any names, but, Breaking Bad, of course, is iconic. You can go to the Amazon River and find a tribe that's never been seen before, and they'll know about Breaking
You
Bad.
could go to Constantinople,
Yeah, right. And I've heard
Istanbul.
I've heard these stories from everywhere. People walk into a bar in Ireland, and the first thing they want to know when they find out you're from Albuquerque is, tell me about Breaking Bad. Do you know where the Walter White House is? Whatever, all that great stuff. And even Academy Award-winning movies, the Coen brothers and stuff like that. And I'm just curious, do you guys, I know you're busy with just getting these productions underway, but do you check the Nielsen's? Do you look for the reviews, or does it help? Does it make a difference here when we have a critically acclaimed show? Is it bringing more business, more attention? How does that work, or does it matter? Can you just knock them off and nobody cares? They're going to come anyway.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, we don't put a lot of stock in that because we have no control over it.
Right.
And from the production's perspective, we're still talking to these producers, to the studios in LA that are going to come here, and it has more to do with what we can offer. Now, it does not hurt to have a Breaking Bad come here, and that's not something you can ever, everyone wishes for something like that, and it's one of those things that just happens. And I had nothing to do with bringing that show here, and it's been a great boon for our state. So I will say that, but we don't fail or succeed on a show or a television show or a film success. We fail or succeed on how we worked with them, how we produce, our incentive and our locations and all of that.
I believe that people around the world now can actually spell Albuquerque.
I can't.
Due to Breaking Bad. Yeah. But also, the reputation for the state film office and for Albuquerque is really strong with the major studios and with independents too, that, an hour and a half from LA, the weather, 310 days of sunshine, a plethora of location looks, We've got a lot going for us.
Yeah. I'm not going to put you on the spot by asking for your personal opinion, but speaking of movies that have had a little rocky start, the Adams, you mentioned Ridiculous Six, the Adam Sandler thing had a controversy over some of the dialogue around Native Americans and stuff. You must have gotten more than a few phone calls at the film office there about that. What were you hearing?
Well, there were some folks that were offended by the script. But from our perspective, it's not something that we get to choose, and it's a First Amendment issue as far as the state's concerned.
Right.
If I had to go through every script and read every offensive line and police that, we'd be in trouble. So, but there's a point in which we don't allow productions that are hard R's on.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's as far as the state gets involved with it. But I met with some folks and chatted with them, and it's an Adam Sandler movie.
That pretty much says it all. Okay. One of the things that's sort of been part of this whole conversation has been the incentives, of course, since the beginning. That's what got the whole business jump-started here. And, of course, the cap that's on that now. And first of all, could you, for folks who don't know about the film business here, could you explain how the incentive program works, and then what the cap is and where we are with that at this point?
We give 25 to 30% rebate on qualified expenses in the state, so our crew, our facilities, our equipment, things like that, hotels and things like that.
Catering.
Yeah, everything that's
Gift baskets.
Lumber.
anything that's taxable
Lumber,
by the
right.
state.
Right.
Basically, that's a good rule of thumb. And we have a $50 million rolling cap every year, meaning we can go over it in a certain year. And those folks that say we went to 60 million, that 10 over the 50 would get paid first out in the next year, so you always get paid. We have not hit the cap.
Well, let's back up. The cap, that money is a rebate directly to the producers or
The production company.
The production company.
Yeah.
So that 25 to 30%. So you make a $100 million movie here, and you will get reimbursed 25 million roughly. And again, it'll be as quickly as possible.
You file at the end of your taxable year. It's audited. Either if it's over 5 million, it's an outside audit. If it's under 5, the Tax and Rev audits it.
Yeah.
They're the final arbiter of what qualifies and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And then if you're over 5 million, it's split into 3 payments: one today, one in 12 months, one in 24 months. Between 2 and 5 million, it's 2 payments: one today and one in 12 months. And then under 2 million, you get paid all of it in that first payment.
Okay.
A real advantage that New Mexico has over other states is that there's no minimum spend that qualifies. And that's really nice because these lower independent films can come in here and know that they'll get the rebate.
Yeah. Is that a question that you get at the film office? I mean, when they're talking to you about a production, do they ask you about the cap, the situation with that, or?
For Albuquerque, all of the incentives go through the state film
Right.
office, so I refer
Right.
them all to the state film office.
Okay.
And all permitting goes through her office when they're here in the city, and so we
Yeah.
refer them to her.
Yeah. So again, the concern among some people in the business was that we would hit a limit with that cap. Are we in danger of doing that? Are we okay with that, or is that working out all right?
No, so I meet with Tax and Rev a few times a year. We won't hit the cap this year. We probably will not hit the cap in fiscal year 17.
Okay.
If we start running into the cap, hitting the cap, it would be probably in fiscal year 18. And these are guesses because it's not
Right.
an exact science.
Yeah.
And then we'll deal with that, when it arises. But in the next year or two, we won't have that issue.
I think the important thing is that it's a rolling cap. It's not like Pennsylvania has a cap, and when they've expended that amount of money, I don't know exactly what the amount is, but when they've expended that, then there's no more money that year. And that's
Same with California.
Okay, exactly. And that's not like New Mexico's at all.
Yeah, so we can go over it. It's just you always get paid. It's just a matter of when.
You're going to have to wait a little longer. Now, originally, back when this all started, there was a loan program built in with. Now, is that still operating or not? Is that been
It's on
kind
the
of
books,
canceled?
but it's not something that anyone has used in over, I want to say, 8 years.
8 years, really?
Yeah.
But it
Is-
served its purpose, kind of jump-starting the business. And
Yeah. Is it just because it's too complicated, or what? People don't want to bother with it.
I don't know in the end, the end of the last administration, for 2 years it wasn't used. It was changed from a no-interest loan to prime plus 1.5. Sometime, I'm not sure, maybe before I got into my position. And it just is, it's easier for you to go get a conventional loan because you don't have the back-end requirements that we would require.
Okay. Okay. Now, we had referenced Georgia before. The governor there announced recently, I think it was through the Wall Street Journal or something, that they had the economic impact of film and television productions there in their last fiscal year was about $6 billion, from a direct spend of about $1.7 billion. I know we're not there yet based on the numbers you guys have told me, but is this, we may never be as big as Georgia, but do you see a potential for more growth here in New Mexico?
I see a
along those
potential
lines?
for more growth. Yeah, I do. Look, we're not going to get to the billion, and I love Georgia, and I know the film commissioner from Georgia, but the economic impact of $6 billion on $1.7 billion doesn't ring in.
Those numbers aren't
doesn't
working for you.
register
Okay.
they're using a multiplier of 3.57, which I don't understand how they can substantiate that.
Okay. What would we use here? 1.5 or
we would
2?
use ours is about between 1.6 and 1.7, somewhere in there, and that's
Okay.
from a study that we've done, and we've looked at it very
Right,
carefully.
we actually studied it.
Yeah. Well, they may have too. I don't know. But you got to go.
They must have paid more for their consultants than we did because they got bigger numbers.
And we
right?
have a dry heat.
Good one.
That's
Yeah,
good.
good one.
Good. But there is still, I mean, as good as things are going, it could get better.
Absolutely, it can get better.
But it's interesting that some of the states now are no longer offering a film incentive, like North Carolina, Illinois, Michigan, Alaska have all rescinded theirs, correct?
Yeah, but part of that, and some of it may be that it's going to go away forever, but part of that is the kind of retraction that happened here, that you're shoring it up, that you may have given too much, you may have done, and different administrations want to bring in and tighten the reins, and I think that's happened in Louisiana. It's happened in the states that she has mentioned, and I think the other states may go through the same growing pains as we've gone through, and that's just part of the process. You try to get to, every state's different,
Right.
what you're trying to accomplish is different, and what we're trying to accomplish is have them hire as many New Mexicans as possible, and to have a great economic impact here in the state. So we've tailored our incentives so that if they hire our people, it's more beneficial than if they bring someone in from California or New York or somewhere else.
And we seem to have hit the sweet spot in terms of the percentage.
I
that
think
we're
it's-
giving back.
I think
It's
it's great.
enough to bring people in, but we're not bankrupting the state or anything.
Right. I think I just think we've kind of hit our stride, so we'll see how that, we're still in, we're not at the end of the race here. We we want to get better, but we're doing well.
Yeah. How many other film offices are there around the state now? Are they springing up as productions go to other places?
Well, no, we have a film liaison program where you can become a film liaison. You have to be it has to be approved by a government entity, basically. And so we have 32 across the state, and that's great for our state.
32.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We have one in Corona, New Mexico.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is there a Roswell project scheduled for down there, or a UFO project or anything?
We've got someone in Roswell. We have them from all over the state. Once a
Yeah.
year we do what do we call it, a training, and we all go together somewhere around the state.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's really helpful. I'll give you an example. We had someone up at the Badlands in the Four Corners, and they were supposed to shoot that day, and when they got there, the gate was closed and the guard wouldn't let them in because he didn't know about the shoot. So we called our film liaison up in Farmington. She goes, "Oh my God, that's my cousin. Hang on, I'll take it." and that's why you do it, right? Because they're one or two phone calls removed from an issue.
Right. Well, I never would have guessed 32. That's great.
Yeah, isn't that great?
When you probably used to be the only you in Santa Fe, that was pretty much it for a while, right? I mean,
Well, you know the history of filmmaking in New Mexico. The very first
somewhat.
film,
Thomas Edison
Company, 1898. It is Leto Pueblo.
Don't tell me you were film liaison back then. Okay.
Tony.
You're a young woman. But yes, you were. We've had some connection for over 100 years. Yeah.
And there has been Albuquerque has periodically had film liaisons. Gene Swain was one. Back in the 70s, I think, and just various people.
Yeah. Well, back to tax incentives. One of the things, people will probably always be debating about how much and whether we should give them. But one thing that's definitely happened, as we know just through film liaisons, but the ripple effect here in terms of going out into maybe not, industries or companies or businesses not directly tied to the film business. Can you talk a little bit about that? What's happened in Albuquerque, for instance, in terms of that? What's grown around that?
Well, certainly film tourism is a big deal in Albuquerque. We have Albuquerque ABQ Trolley Company, Jesse Heron's business, has a special Breaking Bad tour that when he does it, I think he does it a couple of times a week, it sells out in 7 minutes. Aaron Paul's, the Jesse Pinkman character's house in the Country Club area just got listed for $1.6 million. It's a little high, but, I walked into the Hyatt one day in the gift shop and said, "How much of this stuff do you sell?" And it was Breaking Bad T-shirts, Better Call Saul T-shirts, and things like that. And they said, "It's at least half our business." So.
Oh, my God.
But then also, I had a production here, and I won't name them, but they told me this week they were building sets. They had spent $1 million at a local lumber company in a week.
Yeah.
In a week. And so, other than the construction industry, there's no other business that can do that. We had a film that came in and spent $100 million in our state in 12 months, under 12 months. And so that's a lot of money going around, and a lot of people that have to be paid. Go ahead.
Look at Ahern, which is the lift company, local lift company. And if you go on any set, you're going to see Ahern companies there. It's a New Mexico company, so it's applicable for the film incentive. If they had brought those in from LA, it wouldn't count.
Yeah. And I just remember back when many years ago when I helped compile the New Mexico Film Office directory and stuff, I remember getting a call one year from somebody up in the Northeast Heights here, and they wanted to know if there were listings in the film directory for selling gift baskets. And this was about 2007 maybe, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Oh, we do a tremendous business at wrap parties for all these productions. We sell dozens of gift baskets that everybody gives to each other at these parties and stuff." That had never entered my mind. And they were like, so next year, your predecessor, Lisa Strout, got that listing in there, and they had several listings just for gift baskets.
And we cap gifts now.
And you cap
$25 is all you can spend.
So for out-of-town crew, if they don't want to stay in a hotel, another benefit to the people in Albuquerque and New Mexico is they rent their homes, or maybe they have a vacant home or an apartment or a guest house or something like that, and they rent it for short-term rentals.
Any local business that wants to service our industry can go to our website, and they can put their listing up on our website. It's free to do, nmfilm.com, and we're happy that they do that. And as Ann just said, people that want their homes to be shot in a film, or if they want to rent their home out for, you could rent your home out for quite a bit of money for a month and go stay at the hotel, and they'll put you up in the whole deal. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. And if you don't mind me bringing up the conference, or
We'll get to that in
that?
just a
Okay.
second. Yeah, yeah. But if you've got that cherry '67 Camaro in the garage
Yes.
too, people are looking
That's
for
exactly
props,
right.
stuff like that.
I know
right?
people that they do that. They list their cars on. It's something that people do. Yeah, they'll pay you to. Bring
The
them.
movie that's shooting right now, Gold, is set in the 80s, so they need all 80s cars, for example.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's
I
any
should call
industry.
them.
I've got a lot of '80s music on my playlist.
I just wonder if there's any industry that hasn't been affected by the film industry.
I would be curious because I think it hits everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically like a little city when somebody puts a film production together, and all the things that you would need to live. I mean, basically they're want from food to housing to whatever.
Sign
So-
companies. I mean,
Exactly.
you know.
yeah. Right. Right. Well, let's do. I know this. You mentioned the conference that's coming up. We just have a few minutes here, but you guys are always sort of sponsoring trainings and speakers and things coming in. And let's tell me a little bit about this one that's coming up in October.
Yeah, so end of October, the 28th, 29th, 30th, I guess. 28th is the kind of the beginning day, but really the 29th is when it kicks off. Or the 29th is when it kicks off. Wait a minute, 29th, 30th, 31st. Thank you. Am I
Okay.
right?
Yes. That's.
Sorry, everybody. But it's a great conference. I mean, since I've been here, this will be our third conference. And we fly in great panelists to discuss issues. We've got one on the future of television this year. We've got one on the incentives so local producers and folks in that business can really get a grasp of how they can take advantage of it because they get the same tax incentive that Hollywood gets. And we put on it really is an informative conference. And what we try to do is, and I've done every year, is try to get businesses that haven't thought about servicing our industry to come. Last year we had a guy that was a plasterer.
Yeah.
And he did it for homes, but he saw the story in the paper and he got a booth and he got 2 jobs out of it. And so we have people, that you may not think you can service our industry, but you probably can in some way. And you should come on down. It's relatively inexpensive to come, and you get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah. Okay. Again, October 29th through the 31st, and that's going to be at Isleta.
Isleta.
Resort in Casino.
That's right.
Unfortunately, we blew through a half hour here already, so we're about done. But I want to thank my guest, Nick Montiatis
Thank
from the
you.
Film Office,
Thanks.
and the lovely and talented Ann Lerner.
Thank you, Tony.
24/7 on her job, and always doing a great one at that. And I want to thank you for joining us on Behind the Scenes, and we'll see you next time.